Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, January 10th. I'm Laura Cornfield, and this is IBA News broadcasting live from Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will apparently be questioned under caution for the third time in the coming days as part of an ongoing corruption investigation against him. The third questioning is reportedly related to revelations that Netanyahu met with the owner of Yediot Achronot newspaper, Noni Moses, to discuss a deal that would see the Prime Minister receive more favorable coverage in return for his efforts to weaken the rival Yisrael Hayom daily, which is owned by Netanyahu's close friend, billionaire Sheldon Adelson. According to a Channel 2 report, meetings between the two took place at the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem in the presence of Ari Hero, the Netanyahu's bureau chief. Police reportedly have two recordings of the talks, each about an hour long, which they apparently seized in a different investigation against Hero, who is said to have recorded the meetings himself. The Haaretz newspaper today reported that Noni Moses, a longtime arch foe of Netanyahu, insists that the Prime Minister was the one to initiate the talks. Moses, too, is expected to be questioned again in the coming days. In wake of the revelations, opposition leader Isaac Herzog is demanding that the Attorney General order Netanyahu to step down from his additional post as Minister of Communication. Herzog warned that should Netanyahu fail to relinquish the communication portfolio, he will appeal to the High Court. In the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Jabal Mukaber, Israeli security forces continue to maintain a heightened presence, conducting patrols, arresting terror suspects, and operating to prevent future attacks. Earlier today, IBA's Margot Dudkevich visited Jabal Mukaber and filed this report.
Standing in front of the concrete blocks erected at one of the entrances to the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Jabal Mukaber, the home village of terrorist Fadi al-Kumbao, who perpetrated Sunday's truck ramming attack, it was deceptively quiet this morning.
In and around the Jabal Mukaber neighborhood, Israeli police operations are continuing. Just a short while ago, more than 60 officers have gone inside as part of ongoing operations. We're trying to prevent any further terrorist attacks from taking place from within inside the neighborhood, which is unfortunately we've seen more than 7 terrorists who have left this neighborhood and made their way inside to Jerusalem and carried out terrorist attacks. So our main focus is preventing any further terrorist attacks, finding potential suspects, and also at the same time preventing vehicles or trucks from coming out of the neighborhood, and that's why these barriers have been set up here. The concrete barriers that have been set up is only specifically here in this area, preventing trucks from coming out from inside the neighborhood, from the lower part of the neighborhood into the upper part, which is in fact adjacent to Armon HaNatziv. I mean, we're talking about the distances and the time frame from Jabal Mukaber to Armon HaNatziv is just several hundred meters. So the time frame that a potential terrorist can leave and make their way outside from here, inside Armon HaNatziv, is literally minutes.
In the heart of the neighborhood, border police and police continue operating, quelling violent outbreaks of stone-throwing firebombs and fireworks directed at them, arresting suspects and trying to prevent additional terrorists leaving to perpetrate attacks in the streets of Jerusalem. How hard is it to monitor and track those that are going to launch an attack that haven't really any affiliation to any terror organization?
Well, first of all, the security circles here in Israel, we have strong intelligence and we're capable of finding terrorist cells and finding potential terrorists. There are ongoing operations, both IDF, border police and police operations that take place 24/7 to find those cells. But when we're talking about an individual terrorist who sporadically decides to leave Jabal Mukaber or any other of the Israeli Arab neighborhoods and try and make their way inside a Jewish neighborhood or the center of town or a public area, our police units have to be in the right place at the right time.
Aside from Jabal Mukaber and nearby Tzur Bacher, police are also operating elsewhere in Jerusalem, enhancing security and doing their utmost to prevent terror from striking the capital again.
Police operations are taking place not just here in Jabal Mukaber, also in other neighborhoods, Tzur Bacher, which is also adjacent to where we are. Special patrol units, undercover units are also working, and that's all part of the ongoing investigation which is taking place after Sunday's terrorist attack, which unfortunately left 4 soldiers dead. I can also emphasize and say that we made arrests overnight also in Jabal Mukaber. There were petrol bombs that were thrown at our police officers who were on patrol inside. Apart from that, we've made 9 arrests since the attack, including 5 members of the family. and extensive police operations that also took place yesterday inside the old city of Jerusalem, where we arrested 4 suspects who wrote graffiti on walls supporting the terrorist who had carried out the terrorist attack.
A short distance from the neighborhood at the scene of Sunday's attack, at the Almona Natsiv Boulevard, where 4 soldiers were killed, the municipality has already begun erecting a fence, which they say is temporary until decorative stone blockades are installed around the promenade sidewalk. Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
Meanwhile, police have arrested 4 residents from the old city of Jerusalem, aged 13 to 20, suspected of spray painting insightful messages on the walls of shops located in the Muslim quarter. The graffiti hailed the terrorist who carried out Sunday's attack in Amona Natsiv as the king of the Mercedes, referring to the truck he used to run over the group of soldiers. Among other slogans spray painted were the words, "Yesterday's attack is just the beginning of 2017, written in Hebrew, and you have no place in Jerusalem." Additional graffiti praised the Hamas terror group, saying Hamas is resistance, not terror. 3 of the 4 suspects will be brought to the Jerusalem Magistrates Court later today for an extension of their remand, while the 13-year-old was released to house arrest. The Prime Minister has issued a new directive obligating cabinet ministers from now on to take part in funerals of IDF soldiers killed during operations or acts of terror. The new instructions come following a series of complaints from bereaved parents of the 4 soldiers killed in Sunday's car ramming attack. Family members expressed dismay that not a single minister or government representative attended their loved ones' funerals yesterday. Speaking with Army Radio this morning, Housing Minister Yoav Gallant personally apologized for failing to attend any of the funerals. Gallant said he regrets not making it his duty, just like he did while serving in the Army, and vowed to prevent similar situations from repeating themselves in the future. Seeking to deter future terrorists from carrying out attacks, Minister of Interior Aryeh Deri has decided to revoke the permanent resident status of 13 family members related to terrorist Fadi al-Kunbar, who carried out Sunday's deadly attack, including his mother's. Deri took the step after consulting with the Shin Bet Security Agency and Immigration Authority. In a statement released by the Interior Ministry, Deri wrote, "Let it be known to all who consider carrying out an attack that their families will pay a heavy price for their actions, and the consequences will be severe and far-reaching." Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan lashed out at Jerusalem Magistrates Court Judge Sharon Larry Bavli after she yesterday ordered to release from custody the sister of the terrorist who perpetrated Sunday's truck ramming attack. Judge Larry Bavli said there was insufficient evidence to detain Shahida El-Kumbar and her father. Shahida was accused of inciting to violence after she was heard praising her brother's actions and calling him a martyr. Erdan called the decision an extremely bad one, saying it is unbelievable that the court does not see incitement and support for the awful terror attack. The court did, however, extend the remand of 2 of Al-Kumbar's brothers and a cousin for an additional 7 days. The bulk of American Jewry could reduce its support for Israel and its security if Israel does not give non-Orthodox Jewry more respect. So says the former U.S. Undersecretary of Defense, Dov Zakheim, who will be addressing the Knesset Diaspora Affairs Committee tomorrow as part of the Jewish Religious Equality Coalition. He spoke with IBA's Ari O'Sullivan.
Our message is going to be we're deeply, deeply concerned about the growing division between the American Jewish community and Israel, particularly because of the fact that 85% of American Jews are not Orthodox, and they're not being recognized in Israel officially as good Jews. And this is a tragedy, not only for the United States Jewish community, but for Israel. Because who is the support for Israel? It's the American Jewish community that supports Israel through its pressure on the United States government, its work with the United States government, and therefore it is critical to Israel's security.
Well, what are the consequences of not doing something about this?
Well, if nothing is done about it, you will find an increasingly alienated Jewish community. Look at all the young people who support BDS. Look at the indifference of many American Jews to the Iran deal, or even to the United Nations Security Council resolution. This can't go on, and Israelis cannot expect that American Jews will continue to support Israel if they don't get respect.
A knife-wielding Palestinian was shot dead before dawn this morning after attempting to stab soldiers of the IDF's elite Duvduvan unit conducting arrests in the Palestinian refugee camp of Farah, northeast of Nablus. An army spokesperson said troops were in the midst of the raid when the suspect raised his knife and raced towards soldiers. He was shot after he ignored calls to halt. Following the shooting, explosive devices were thrown at the troops. No soldiers were injured in the incident. The Shin Bet security agency foiled an attempt by a Palestinian smuggling ring to transfer model airplanes and communications equipment from the West Bank to Hamas operatives in the Gaza Strip. Nofal Abu Seraya, a merchant from the Gaza Strip, and Nader Masalma, a merchant from the West Bank, were arrested last month by security forces and indicted at Beersheva's magistrates' court for transporting illicit materials to Gaza via the Kerem Shalom crossing. The Shin Bet said the two hid the goods inside televisions, washing machines, and refrigerators. Tragedy during the traditional Desert Queen competition in Guatemala. A 60-year-old Israeli tourist, identified as Hadas Ayash from Kiryat Tivon, died in a rafting accident in the Carbone River in the Sumek-Champay region. Ayash, a mother of 3 and grandmother of 2, was on a group outing when the accident happened. She apparently drowned when her inner tube overturned while rafting in the popular tourist site. The Foreign Ministry is working closely with authorities in Guatemala to coordinate the transfer of her body back to Israel. Turning to the U.S., where it appears the President-elect Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, will be appointed as a senior advisor in the incoming Washington administration. The 35-year-old Orthodox Jew is married to Trump's eldest daughter, Ivanka. In the past, Trump had floated the idea that Kushner will act as a special envoy to the Middle East, but it is not yet clear what his exact role will be. Similar to what he did during Trump's campaign, Kushner is expected to advise the president-elect on foreign policy matters and is said to play a central role in dealings with Israel. The expected appointment is viewed as quite a thorny choice in the face of the anti-nepotism law, which bars politicians from appointing family members. Kushner is reportedly working with lawyers to clear the way for his appointment. Berlin's Brandenburg Gate was lit up in the colors of the Israeli flag last night in solidarity with Israel and the victim of Sunday's truck-ramming terror attack in Jerusalem. Last month, 12 people were killed, including an Israeli woman, Dalia Eliakim, when a truck rammed into people visiting a Christmas market in Berlin. In the Dutch city of Rotterdam, the Israeli flag was flown atop of City Hall as a gesture of solidarity with Israel.
I think what is so moving and important about seeing on the Brandenburg Gate the Israeli flag is it's a sign of solidarity, that it's a recognition of the fact that democracies throughout the world, civilized people, civilized values throughout the world are under attack and under threat. And when there's a threat, good people stand together. And the way to defeat the threats in the world is when good people come together and stand shoulder to shoulder with one another, whether it is in Germany or in Israel or in France or America, wherever it may be, we all stand together.
In local money matters, shares were down in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange while the shekel was mixed in foreign currency trading. Here are the numbers. Snow lightly dusted the Golan Heights, Har Meron, and Menara and parts of the Galilee yesterday, and the Mount Hermon ski resort remained closed today to visitors. Meteorologists say the cold weather came to the region with the same wave causing heavy snow in Greece, Italy, and Austria. Meanwhile, no change in temperatures predicted tomorrow under clear to partly cloudy skies. Here are the expected highs and lows at home and abroad. And that's all for this newscast. Ariel Sullivan will be here tomorrow, same time, same channel. Until then, I'm Laura Cornfield wishing you a good evening and shalom from Jerusalem. And we leave you now with images of the snow-capped north.